President Prabowo receives a special letter from Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas on Indonesia-Palestine ties and current situation in Palestine. Indonesia condemns Israel's attack on Gaza that killed hundreds, including children, during Ramadan. NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang unveils new AI chip and advancements at GPU Technology Conference 2025. Hello and welcome to TVRI World's Newswatch. I'm Narendra Pawaka. We begin our very first report about the Gaza crisis. Mahmoud al-Habash, Supreme Judge of Palestine and advisor to the President of the State of Palestine on religious and Islamic affairs, had a meeting with Indonesian President Prabowo Subianto in Jakarta. He delivered a special letter from President of the State of Palestine, Mahmoud Abbas.
Supreme Judge of Palestine and advisor to the President of the State of Palestine on religious and Islamic affairs, Mahmoud al-Habash, said a special letter from President of the State of Palestine, Mahmoud Abbas, contains message regarding bilateral relations between Indonesia and Palestine. He said the letter also included an explanation of current situation faced by the Palestinian people.
Mahmoud Abbas, to His Excellency, the President in Palestine under the continuous Israeli aggression, which was renewed this morning, as you know. We explained the situation to His Excellency the President and discussed the relationship between Palestine and Indonesia and the fully support of Indonesia to the Palestinian cause and to the Palestinian rights. We trust Indonesia, we trust the position of Indonesia regarding the Palestinian cause.
The government of Palestine stated that Indonesia is a country that always consistent in supporting Palestinian struggle. Palestine believe that Indonesia will continue to support for Palestine's independence and freedom.
Ambassador, please.
Indonesia condemned Israel's attack on the Gaza Strip early Tuesday, which killed hundreds of civilians, including children, during the holy month of Ramadan.
Indonesia's Ministry of Foreign Affairs says the latest attack on Gaza are part of a series of Israel's continued provocation, which threaten the ceasefire and undermine prospects for peaceful negotiations toward a two-state solution. Indonesia has urged the UN Security Council and the international community to take immediate action to stop Israel's attacks. The Indonesian government calls all parties to restore the ceasefire and prevent further civilian casualties. Indonesia also reaffirms its consistent stance that ending Israel's illegal occupation is the only path to achieving a just and lasting peace in the region.
The Gaza Strip witnessed an escalation of violence, resulting in the reported deaths of hundreds, including over 130 children in a single day. Makeshift shelters where families sought refuge were reportedly struck. UNICEF urgently called for an immediate ceasefire and the restoration of humanitarian access, demanding adherence to international humanitarian law.
After 15 long months of brutal war, again, no place is safe for children and their families in Gaza. Families who this night were woken up by very loud explosions and heavy bombardments across the Gaza Strip, including here in Al-Mawasi. Those bombs have also been falling on tents and shelters. Dozens of children have reportedly been killed and scores more injured. Healthcare system in Gaza had been decimated throughout the first 15 months of the war, and that healthcare system now has to take care of hundreds of very severely injured people here in Gaza. There's also evacuation notices that have been issued for northern Gaza, pushing many families who had just relocated back to the north to flee again. Children who have been traumatized and deeply scarred by 50 months of war are now again exposed to this violence, to the incessant buzzing of drones, the deep rumbling of planes flying over. We call for the reinstatement immediately of the ceasefire. This is critical to save children's lives.
A few hundred protesters gathered in New York's Times Square after Israeli airstrikes pounded Gaza and killed more than 400 people.
These are the desperate attacks of a losing.
The newest attack shattered nearly 2 months of relative calm since a ceasefire began, as Israel warned the onslaught was just the beginning. Pro-Palestinian demonstrators vastly outnumbered Israeli sympathizers during the rally, which began after normal working hours.
Say it clear and say it loud.
They're on the verge of agreeing to a ceasefire, and then they're killing 400 people overnight. I mean, it just seems like very strategic and really very evil, really. Too much.
And they were convinced.
Israel and Hamas accused each other on breaching the truce. It had broadly held since January and offered respite from war for the 2.3 million inhabitants of Gaza, which had been reduced to the rubble.
The breaking of the ceasefire, I think, was bound to happen.
And so that's why you're here?
Yeah, we knew this protest would happen on the Hamas side, and we came to show that we're, on this side.
Tell us about that.
What?
Tell us about that.
Yeah, no, we just want people to understand that there's a lot of people that support Israel in the city, and we're willing to come out, chant, have signs, and such.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said he ordered strikes because Hamas had rejected proposals to secure a ceasefire extension.
Minister of Protection for Indonesian Migrant Workers, Abdul Qadir Karding, has set a target of 3 days for investigation of 554 Indonesian migrant workers who have become victims of online scams in Myawaddy, Myanmar.
Based on statement from Ministry of Protection for Indonesian Migrant Workers on Tuesday, the examination of 554 Indonesian migrant workers who were victims of online scams from Myawaddy, Myanmar will cover physical and psychological and mental aspects. The 554 Indonesian migrant workers consist of 449 men and 105 women. Minister of Protection for Indonesian Migrant Workers Abdul Qadir Karding hoped to complete the investigation in 3 days. Karding said his ministry would fully cover the cost of examinations. The Ministry of Protection for Indonesian Migrant Workers will also collect documents from these illegal migrant workers who were victims of human trafficking. The data will be reintegrated so they will be prepared to return to society. Earlier on Tuesday, the Indonesian government has repatriated a total of 554 Indonesian illegal migrant workers trafficked to work on online scams in Myanmar. The repatriation has been carried out into 2 phases, 400 people on Tuesday in 2 flights and 154 people on Wednesday.
Indonesia and Australia are committed to strengthen efforts on counter-terrorism, the National Counter-Terrorism Agency has said.
Head of National Counter-Terrorism Agency or BNPT Commissioner General Edi Hartono said on Tuesday Indonesia's counter-terrorism law mandated the government to conduct prevention efforts. The efforts included national preparedness, contra-radicalization, and de-radicalization to prevent the spreading of violence ideology in Indonesia and the surrounding region. One of the National Preparedness Program implementation is the National Action Plan on Prevention and Mitigation of Violence-Based Extremism that lead to terrorism. The program has been implemented for 5 years and will be reinforced by involving villages as the spearhead of terrorism early warning. Australian Ambassador for Counter-Terrorism Gemma Huggins said that her country had similar focus with Indonesia, especially in facing the threat of Lone Wolf, the individual terrorism act that is not affiliated to any group. Since 2002, Indonesia and Australia have worked together in various counter-terrorism programs such as the development of Indonesia Knowledge Hub on countering terrorism and violent extremism and workshops on threat analysis improvement for BNPT.
President Prabowo called Coordinating Economic Minister Airlangga Hartarto to a meeting at the Merdeka Palace to discuss the latest development in Indonesia's economy and international economic cooperations.
President Prabowo Subianto on Tuesday met with Coordinating Economic Minister Airlangga Hartarto at the Merdeka Palace, Jakarta, to discuss the latest development in Indonesia's economy, which showed a resilient growth supported by strong fundamentals. The President and the Minister also discussed several economic plans, such as the development of special economic zones and international economic cooperations. Airlangga explained that President Prabowo put a special attention on the special economic zone in Batang, Central Java, particularly on a cooperation called Two Countries, Twin Parks between Indonesia and China's province Fujian in 2023. The cooperation aimed to boost investments in industries located in Batang special economic zones with an investment plan worth 16 trillion rupiahs, or about $967 million.
Religious Affairs Ministry confirmed the completion of air transportation procurement for the 2025 Hajj season after signing cooperation documents with Saudi Airlines.
Director General of Hajj and Minor Hajj of Religious Affairs Ministry, Hilman Latif, said on Tuesday, March the 18th, that his ministry had completed the air transportation procurement for Hajj pilgrims and officers after inking the deal with Saudi Airlines. The cooperation documents were signed by Hilman Latif and General Manager of Saudi Arabian Airlines, Amer G. Al-Hamdi, at Hajj Affairs Office in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. Previously, the ministry had also signed air transportation contract with Garuda Indonesia and Lion Air. Hilman said that Saudi Airlines would transport more than 102,000 Hajj pilgrims and officers in this year's Hajj season.
Commission 4 of the House of Representatives will revise Law Number 41, Year 1999 on forestry to ensure a holistic and progressive legislation which allows it to become the basic framework for the implementation of much better forest management.
Indonesia's forests at a critical point. In the last 2 decades, more than 28 million hectares of natural forests in the country have disappeared. Existing regulations have no longer sufficient to protect forests and forest-dependent communities. Member of House Commission 4 Rohmin Dahuri says the revision of the forest law is urgent to make the forestry sector become productive, efficient, competitive, inclusive, environmentally friendly, and sustainable. There are several components which need revision, including the Forest Spatial Plan to determine the location of protected forest areas, production, conversion, and industrial plantation forests.
Kami kalau di DPR RI khususnya Komisi 4 ingin output akhir ya dari undang-undang yang akan kita revisi ini sungguh-sungguh menjadi pijakan dan landasan hukum, landasan regulasi supaya sektor kehutanan kita itu sebuah sektor yang produktif, yang efisien ya, menguntungkan. Kedua, berdaya saing produknya jangan hanya jauh pandang. Keempat, tentunya kue ekonomi atau manfaat ekonomi dan sosialnya dinikmati oleh seluruh rakyat Indonesia, jangan hanya segelintir orang. Kemudian wajah keempat ramah lingkungan, dan yang kelima adalah berkelanjutan.
The amended forest law will affirm that forest management allocation are not only for corporate concession, but also for indigenous people and local communities, so they can utilize forests to sustainability. The revision of Law Number 41, year 1999 on forestry has been included in the National Legislation Program, is expected to be completed this year.
We'll be back with more updates, so stay tuned right here, only on Newswatch. You're back on Newswatch on Wednesday, March 19, 2025 edition. And now we are entering our Ramadan segment. We will take you to Pakistan right after this. Now, as the call for evening prayer rang through Karachi, hundreds of Pakistanis shared their iftar with a free meal provided by a local charity.
Street iftar meals have long been a Ramadan tradition in the city, with temporary roadside tables and mats set up for charity workers. Donors usually offer money and food products to volunteers who later set up the food stalls 1 hour before Maghrib evening prayers to prepare the meals. The free meals are not just for those struggling to afford food, though. They are also for those who are out working and can't make it back home in time to eat with their families. Many lower-income families use the free meals at the roadside due to the rising cost of food during Ramadan. Ramadan, also known as Saum, is one of the 5 pillars of Islam and requires that individuals abstain from eating, drinking, smoking, and sexual intercourse from dawn to dusk. Pakistan is a predominantly Muslim country where more than 90% of 240 million people practice Islam.
The Indonesian government has committed to providing a successful air transportation during the upcoming Exodus season and return flow.
Minister of Transportation Dudi Purwagandhi, Cabinet Secretary Teddy Indra Wijaya, and Deputy Minister of State-Owned Enterprises Doni Oskaria strive for a successful homecoming and return of air transportation this year. Minister of Transportation Dudi Purwagandhi said during the 2025 Eid holiday, the state-owned transportation providers need to pay attention to 3 key factors, including security and safety, synergy, and collaboration. He also asks the transportation sector to continue to always notice the smallest aspects. For synergy and collaboration, Minister Dudi expects that all stakeholders can work together and form good synergy.
You're watching Newswatch. NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang revealed fresh details about the company's newest artificial intelligence chip and other advancements at its annual Software Developer Conference, GTC 2025.
Welcome to the stage, NVIDIA founder and CEO Jensen Huang.
Welcome to GTC! Amazing things are born in simulation.
The company announced the new Isaac GR00T N1, the world's first open humanoid robot foundation model and simulation frameworks to speed robot development. The Newton prototype, an open-source physics engine for robotics, was also brought on to the stage. Newton is an open-source, extensible physics engine being developed by NVIDIA, Google DeepMind, and Disney Research to advance robot learning and development. General Motors will also use artificial intelligence chips and software from NVIDIA to develop autonomous vehicle technology for its vehicles and improve workflow at its factories. Wuhan, located in central China's Hubei province, has entered its best viewing season for cherry blossoms. Tourists from across the country are flocking to the city to enjoy the stunning floral display.
With over 500,000 cherry trees, Wuhan offers one of the most popular destinations for spring blossom viewing in China. Wuhan University, home to around 1,000 cherry blossom trees, has become a major attraction. The 132-year-old campus, surrounded by green hills and East Lake, provides a picturesque backdrop for visitors. To accommodate the influx of tourists, the city has launched the Cherry Blossom Line, a special bus route connecting key blossom viewing sites. Public transportation, including buses, subways, and taxis, have been decorated in pale pink to welcome visitors. Besides enjoying the blossoms, tourists can explore local souvenir shops and experience traditional performances, adding to the festive atmosphere. Wuhan continues to embrace its reputation as a cherry blossom destination, offering a memorable spring experience for tourists from across China.
The national football team started its training session to prepare for a World Cup qualification match against Australia on Thursday afternoon.
The Indonesian football team would face Australia in an Asia Zone qualification match for 2026 World Cup at the Netstrata Jubilee Stadium in Sydney, Australia on Thursday at 4 p.m. Western Indonesian time. The official Instagram account of Indonesian football team on Tuesday evening posted a short reel video showing several players of the team getting ready for a practice at the stadium. Among the players were Martin Paes, Shane Patinama, Jordi Amat, Ramadan Sananta, Muhammad Ferrari, Eliano Reinders, dan Rafael Struijk. Currently, Indonesia stood at the third place of the Group C standings with 6 points gained from 6 matches. The 6 points came from 1 win, 3 draws, and 1 loss. The only win Indonesia had was the latest match against Saudi Arabia 2-0 held in Jakarta in November last year. Indonesia attacking midfielder Marcelino Ferdinand scored the 2 goals in the match. Meanwhile, Australia currently stood at the second place of Group C, right below Japan with 7 points from 1 win, 4 draws and 1 loss.
Atlanta, United States hosted the FIBA Club World Cup trophy at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium on Sunday as part of its tour ahead of the tournament's inaugural edition next year. Designed in collaboration with Tiffany & Co., the trophy features gold-plated moving parts in the form of concentric circles, engravings in 13 different languages in Braille, and iconic imagery representing football's global history. Former Inter Milan, Chelsea, and Argentina striker Hernan Crespo attended the unveiling, expressing excitement about the tournament, which will feature 32 teams from across the world. He highlighted the significance of the competition, stressing that it will be a historic event where clubs compete, not in friendlies, but for the prestigious title. AMB Sports and Entertainment COO Dietmar Exler emphasized the importance of hosting elite clubs like Manchester City, Chelsea, Porto, and Inter Miami, alongside teams from other continents, promising an unmatched experience for fans. The tournament, set to take place across the United States, will mark a new era for club football, bringing together champions from all confederations in a competitive format. And that wraps up today's edition of Newswatch. I'm Narendra Pawaka. Thank you for watching. Have a great Wednesday, everybody, and I'll see you on the next episode.